Hello guys, you're welcome back here again to Valmich Fit for another free and very interesting tutorial video. I want to say a very big thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you for staying back here with Valmich Fit. And if you're bumping into this channel for the first time, please bump into the subscribe button. Click on the notification bell so you don't get to miss out on more interesting videos coming up. And also like and leave your comments. So today I'm going to be taking you through the process of how to make a two-in-one dinner outfit. And for this I'm going to be making use of this sequin lace fabric. It's really beautiful and shiny. And also I'm going to be making use of this skin tone crepe. So this is for a dark skin color, and then I'm going to be using this sewable bone, also called regilene bone, for garment structure. And this measures about quarter of an inch and it's really slim. You have different sizes of this boning, including the plastic boning. So this is a sewable boning of quarter of an inch. So I'm going to be using this for the top of it for structure. Then I'll be using this pad for my bust cup. In our local fabric shops here in Nigeria, it's called a strong breast pad, and it has one shiny side that stays glued to your fabric with the use of a pressing iron. And of course, my matching colored threads. So if you like to see the outcome of this outfit, please watch this video to the end so you don't miss out on any technique and trick I'll be using to make this outfit. Please do not forget to like and leave your comments below. Now let's get to work. On this paper, I'll be drafting out a bustier, which I'm going to later turn into a cupped corset. So this is my start line and also my shoulder line. Now I'll take my shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and of course this is going to be an inbuilt top, so I'll go down by 3 inches to get the full top length. But if you don't have a flat stomach, you can go down by 4 to 4.5 inches. So I'll mark same points on this other side so I'll have a straight line. I'm rolling my lines out right now so that I can label them. Now this first line is my bust point, then my under bust, my half length on my waistline, and then the full top length. Here's my shoulder divided by 2, and I will go down by 7.5 inches for my chest line, and also take my shoulder measurement here so that I will have a straight line. I'll connect these 2 points together and then I'll rule it out. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll take my basic neckline measurement, which is 3 inches, and then connect the both of them together. So that's my chest line, and then I'll impute my dart measurement. Starting from my under bust, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. So I'll go out by 1 inch on both sides of the dart line with same dart measurement on my bust point and also my half length. And repeat the same measurement for my full length. So please go ahead and do the same thing. Now I'll connect these points together with my ruler, and I'll go up to my chest line by 2 inches and connect down to this line. So tighten my chest line, I'll go out by 1 inch on both sides of that line, and then I'll connect to the bust point and down to the full length. The 1 inch taken on both sides of the under bust is the under bust tightening. Here I'm connecting the under bust to the full length with a straight line, and with a curved line I'm connecting the under bust to the bust point and then straight to the chest line. To form my yoke, I'll go up by 1 inch from my bust point, and I'll mark out the midpoint from my shoulder to my chest line. After doing this, I'll go in by 0.75 inch from that midpoint, and then I'll connect from my shoulder slope to the point and through into my chest line. That is done for your dress to have a better fit around your armhole. So I'll take my shoulder to my chest line, then I'll go up by half an inch because I want that part to be a bit closed. So I'll connect it to my dart line. Here I'm measuring the dart legs to meet up with the dart line, and then I'll curve out from my center front into the chest line. Now I'm going to take my body measurement. So this is my bust measurement divided by 4, and on my waistline I'll check the gap between the 2 dart legs, which is 1.5 inches, and then include that in my measurements. which will be 7.5 to make up for the dark space. For my full length, I'll take my upper hip measurement here and then make a point there. I'll connect these points together with my ruler. So this top part here is my yoke, but I'll be needing just half of this, so I'll come out by 1 inch from the neckline and create a new neckline into the chest line. You can decide to make use of the full yoke or create a neckline that suits you. So here, in case you don't want an inbuilt top, just curve out from your center front into your waistline or your half length. Here I'm taking my side seam allowance of 1.5 inches just to show you how it looks like. You can decide to make use of 2 inches but not more than that. I'm taking same measurements all through the lines and then I'll rule them out connecting together. But of course this is going to be an inbuilt top, especially from the side waistline, so I'll go up by 1.5 inches from the full length and then make a point there. I'll connect from the center front to that point and this part will be inbuilt. I used 1.5 inches by the side seam because this top is not very long and it is just a little below the navel. I'll cancel this first line out because I won't be needing that, and then I'll connect my side seam into the new line. So please go ahead and do the same thing for yours. And then cut this piece out. As you can see now, our bustier pattern is formed. So here I have another paper set to cut the back, which is already labeled just like the front, except for the under bust line. This is where my back full length will stop to be equal with the front side seam. I'm using my front shoulder line to cut the back and then roll it down to the chest line. I'll take my armhole curve here and then go in by half an inch. I'll connect from my shoulder slope to that point. And then I'll roll it into the chest line. So this back pattern will not be having any dark line. So I'll take my full length measurement here, just same as the front. And then my waist measurement divided by 4. And here my bust measurement divided by 4. So I'll connect these points together with a straight line. And also include my side seam allowance. I'm just curving that waistline out so I don't have a sharp edge. I want the center back to be 4 inches open, so I'll take out 2 inches from the center back, assuming this paper is on fold. Please take note, this back pattern has no zipper allowance. For the back neckline, I'll come out with same 1 inch just like the front, and then make a curve from the chest line to the shoulder line. And this will be my back yoke. So I'll connect those points together and then I'll cut this pattern out. So my back pattern is set. So here I'm separating each part from the front panel. Now we have our front and our back pattern set. I'll be using this to cut on my fabric, but including half an inch sewing allowance all round except for my side seam. I'll be turning this front pattern into a cupped corset as earlier said, but sorry, my camera wasn't recording at the point of cutting this, but I've explained everything I did here. On my center front, I went up the initial line by 1 inch and then I made a sweetheart curve into the armhole. And on same center front, I went in by half an inch and I did the same thing on the bust point. Then with my curve ruler, I curved it out into the dot line. For my side cut pattern, I used the difference between my bust point to my under bust, which is 3.5 inches. I measured from my nipple to my side seam and then cut it out. And then I adjusted the yoke to measure up to the cup. So guys, that was a little adjustment made. So I'm going to make use of these pattern pieces to cut on my fabric. I'm securing each of these pieces with a pin on my fabric and then including my half-inch seam allowance all round. And then I'll cut each piece out. So here is my bust cut pattern, and on this point I make sure to give it a notch, which is the bust point. So just bend this piece into two, and on that center line use your scissors to notch it. This is going to be a guide for you when sewing. I'll repeat same thing on the side pattern. And as you can see guys, I have my 1/2 inch seam allowance all around each of these pieces. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other bust cup. I'll stitch these parts together to form my bust cup, but first take to my pressing table to iron interface on. So I have ironed interface on each and every piece of this top, and this is the bust cup piece, the center and the side front. So I went ahead to pad it with the strong breast pad. So this is how it looks inside of it, and this is the front part of it. So the other pieces I ironed stay on them, and this is the side front. I ironed stay on this part and every other piece. This is my center front. It also has stay ironed on it. So if I stitch them together, this is how it's going to look like after stitching together. This is my dart line, and will be stitched with 1/2 inch. So this is the back part of it. Also with stay, I'll take all these pieces to my sewing machine to work on, and then I'll come back and show you guys the next step. So guys, I've worked on all these pieces, and I also make sure to cut my lining before working on them. So this is my bust cup. This is how it looks inside, and see how it is cupped out. I made sure to press open my seam lines and then press the front of it too. I did the same thing for my lining. I pressed both the inside and the outside. So I'm going to fit my lining into my main cup to be sure it fits in properly. So I'm checking the darts to be sure they are on the same line. Now that that is checked, I'll take the other piece and then place it on the middle. I put my cup to make sure my darts matches each other. To get that part right, you can start sewing from the dart lines to either the center front or the side front. I'll repeat the same thing for my lining now, and then I'll come back and show you guys. But before I sew my cup to the second piece, I'll trim off the breast part from the seam allowance. This is to reduce the bulkiness in the cup. So just carefully separate your fabric from the breast part and then trim very well. So I'm going to trim off this part, and then I'll separate my fabric carefully. So you can see how this looks inside now. I've trimmed off the excess breast part to more than 1/4 inch. So I'll go ahead now and fix my cup. Okay guys, I've fixed my cups to the other piece but not yet pressed, and I've also gone ahead to create boning channels. This is how it looks like inside, and also reduced the breast part by 1/2 inch on the top seam. So this is my back piece, and I've also gone ahead to cut the yoke for the back, and this is the lining for the yoke. Then for the front piece, this is the yoke for it, and then this is the lace fabric I'll be using for my front piece. So if you notice, I didn't cut my lace just the way I cut my front piece. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to secure this lace with my pins all round my front piece. So I'll do this carefully and pin it all round the breast cup. So guys, just watch this carefully and then see how it goes. So guys, I've carefully pinned my lace fabric all around my bust cup, and I decided to use this pattern of the lace because I felt like it looked really beautiful. So I'm going to be top stitching closely to my breast cup. I'll take this to my sewing machine and then I'll come back and show you guys how it looks. Okay guys, I've top stitched my lace fabric to my front piece, and it's looking really neat and nice. So I'd make sure to top stitch really close to the bust cup, and it's barely noticeable. So guys, this is one very beautiful technique I'd love you to try, and this is how I did it inside. I made sure to bend in my seam allowance and then made my stitch really close to the seam line. You can see how really beautiful it is out here, and my lace pattern is still intact. I'll take this to my pressing table to iron properly, but first I'll trim off my lace excess, and after doing that I'll fix my front yoke and then bring it back for the next step. So I have neatly pressed my front piece and also fixed my yoke and turned my side seam. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is fixing my shoulders together, and I also turned my bodice with my lining. After fixing my shoulder, I'll shape out this top. So I'll cut my bone for my bone casing now, and I'll measure it according to the length of my bone casing, but I'll reduce it by 1 inch for seam allowance. So when you measure, please reduce by 1 inch for your seam allowance. I'll cut this piece out now, and notice how it is curved out. So the way it is curved like a canoe, this is the part I'm going to be fixing into my casing. For the sharp edges, I'll just cut a piece of my masking tape and then use it to cover up that part. I'll trim off the excess of the masking tape and then I'll do the other side. So please, you can go ahead and do the same thing for yours. Now that these edges have been covered, the next thing to do is to insert this bone into the bone casing, and then our top is almost ready. So I've gone ahead to insert the bones into the bone casings, and I have also shaped out this top. This is the back view, looking really beautiful. And what I'm going to do now is to trim off the excess from the lower part of this top. And after doing this, I'll cut out a 1 inch stripe and use to pipe out this part for a neater look. And a bias tape can also be used. So my bones have been fixed to the back, and this is the outcome of this top. Sorry guys, this video is already too long, so please join me in the second video to learn how to cut the pants to create the final look of this outfit. Please do not forget to subscribe, like and leave your comments below. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye.